Hey YouTube, how's it going? I wanted to throw up another Meteor tutorial, and this video is going to cover specifically how to create a web app using Meteor and integrating React into that app. So what I'm going to do is I have compiled all of the videos that I co-produced with Nick into a single video because I like long form videos such as this one. And I'm also going to provide a link in the description to a playlist with each individual lecture, which will then include subtitles for all of you where English might not have been your first language. So if you prefer compiled long-form videos, feel free to keep watching this. If you'd like to take more of a bite-sized approach to the actual project, take a look in the description. I'm going to include a link to that playlist, and then I'm also going to put timestamps in this video. So thank you for joining me, and let's get started.
Hey guys, I want to touch briefly on Meteor.js today in this video and a little bit about how to use it. So first thing you're going to do is in the address bar, just type install Meteor. It's going to give us the location of the Meteor installer to download. And it's right here. If you're on OS X or Linux, just copy this command here, open up terminal, clear that out, and then paste it in here. And if you get this error, it means you don't have curl installed, so you need to install it. So sudo apt-get install curl. And once curl is set up, you can run the previous command again, and it's going to download Meteor and install it. I already have Meteor installed here, I guess, and so it's removing my existing Meteor installation, and it's going to download a new one. So when Meteor is done installing, it gives you a little notice here how to get started. So let's just create an app. Do I have a projects directory already? I do. So I'm going to change directory into projects, and I'm going to type Meteor create to do. And it's going to create a project and a project directory in my current directory called to do. So I'm going to change directory, and then if I list the directory, Meteor has created 3 files to get me started. So I could type Meteor, and it's going to launch the program on port 3000. There we go. So once you get this message, it means the app has been launched. So you can go to localhost on port 3000, and this is our Meteor app. It's got an event handler here for the click me button, which counts the times it's been pressed. But that doesn't really look too great, so I'm going to close this here. And how you add packages to Meteor is you type Meteor, add, and then the package name. So you can browse Meteor packages by going to atmosphere.js.com. And if I were looking for, say, bootstrap, I would... There's a lot here. However, the official bootstrap module or package is at TWBS, which stands for Twitter Bootstrap, and then bootstrap. So I'm going to add that to my project like this, and let me go into the file manager here, into projects and to do, and you're going to see the 3 files that I created for us, but if you hit Control H, you're going to also see a hidden directory titled Meteor, and this is where it stores the packages that we add, and some internal Meteor stuff as well. So we're not going to get too into that. These are the files that you'll be working in with Meteor, so you can open, for instance, the HTML file with gedit. There we go. And you'll see this is the markup. So Meteor works with templates a lot. This isn't an in-depth tutorial, but more just how to get started. Meteor has a pretty awesome tutorial on their website. Just go to Meteor.com and you can access the documentation, reference points, and the tutorial to get you started. So that's a basic usage of Meteor in the command line. Typically it's just Meteor create and then the app name, and once you're in the apps directory you just run Meteor to run the application, and you can use Meteor add or Meteor remove if you want to remove a package, add to add a package, and then the package name. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys found it informative and a good place to start with Meteor. A selling point for Meteor is the fact that real-time interactions are built into its core, so you no longer have to fake it with JavaScript AJAX calls to PHP scripts. Everything's done in JavaScript. It's all real-time, so it's awesome to work with, and it makes things easy as well. So check that out if you're into web application development at all. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm gonna do this video. I wasn't going to, but I decided to do it as this is a module for developers, and I think the information you'll find in this video is going to be really helpful for you. And so it's going to be a more in-depth look at Meteor and how to use it in your next project. So it's a tutorial of some sort. And so I'm going to be showing you guys how to use Meteor with React and Flowrouter. And I find that there's not too much information out there on this combination of tools, and so it makes sense to give you guys that information. If you're following along this course anyway, I think it's quite reasonable to assume that some of you at least are going to need this information, and even if you didn't know you needed it, maybe you can go ahead and use Meteor in your next project. So in the last video, we created a project through Terminal for Meteor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to change directory into projects and into to-do. And so Meteor automatically creates a few files for you first. So let's go ahead and open this up in WebStorm. I'm going to click Open and down into Projects and into To-Do, hit OK. And now WebStorm is going to open up the project, and we've got the project view on the left-hand side. So the first thing we're going to do is delete these files because we don't need them. Now we're going to start creating some directories, because in Meteor projects can get fairly large because you're going to be working with a lot of files, and so organization is a huge benefit here. So let's right click and create a directory called client. I'm going to create another directory called lib, and one more for server. Now the client directory is going to contain everything that's going to be available to the client. So this is where your templates and stuff are going to go. So in client, I'm going to create a new directory called components, and this is where we're going to store the React components. Now in lib, what I'm going to do is create a file called router.jsx. And in the router file, we're going to be defining routes for Flowrouter. So before we get to that, we actually need to add some packages to the project. So in the directory here in terminal, just type Meteor add React and then Kadira : React layout and Kadira : flow-router and hit enter. There we go. So we've got everything added in here. I was having an issue with JetBrains IDEs, and basically it was a conflict with OpenJDK. And so in order to resolve those, I've installed Oracle Java. And basically what was happening was when you start typing something, this auto suggestion box pops up, and that was causing the program to hang. And so to resolve that, what I had to do was add a repository to my system. And I'm just going to search web update Java. And you're going to go to the launchpad.net page. And in here, just copy this archive URL there. And in terminal, you can run sudo add apt repository and then the repository name, and you can actually start connecting multiple commands together. So sudo apt get update, and the way you connect commands together is by using 2 ampersands between the commands, and that basically says run command 1, and when that's done, if it's successful, run command 2, and if that's done, run the next command, which is going to be sudo apt get install oracle -java 8 installer. And so you're going to run that, and that should resolve the issues with JetBrains IDEs if you're having the same ones as I was. So let's get back to in here. So let's start making some routes. So the first thing we need to do is set up the router to be able to actually route to certain files and routes. So to do this, we're going to create the first route, which we're going to type Flowrouter.route. This is the path that we're creating the route for, and then you pass as the second parameter an object, and that with a semicolon. And you can name the route, so this is going to be named home, then put a comma, and the action function can take params as its argument. Then we open that up, and I'm going to reference here a function that we haven't yet actually created, but we're about to. So the function name is going to be render view, and then in here I'm going to create the object. So this is going to be home. And this is the React component that we're going to create. So basically, we have a function here that we need to create called render view, and we pass that a component. So here we're going to create it, function render view, and we're going to reference that object here as component. And then we open it up. And basically all you have to do is type React layout dot render main layout, and we're going to pass it a few parameters. So header is going to be a header component that we need to create. Content is going to be the component we're passing into it. And then footer is going to be a footer component that we need to create. And then hit save. And this is all we need to do. This bit of code is going to render a header, a component, and a footer. So let's get started with the main layout. So we're telling it here to render this React component and pass it these as parameters, so we can actually reference these components inside the main layout component by typing this .props .header content and footer. And we'll see this in action here in just a moment. So in client, in components, I'm going to create a new React class called main layout.jsx. And here, basically, we're going to get started with how to create React components. So the first thing you need to do is name the component. Mine's going to be called main layout. And we say that's equal to react.createClass. And we open that up with brackets and curly brackets. So all we really need here is the render function, and that's all we're going to do at this point. So type in render, and then in the render function you're going to put return, and you're going to open up just regular brackets. And this is a bit odd, I know, but this is how it's done. So here we can actually print HTML, and it's going to render what we tell it to. So we always need to wrap all elements under a parent container. So I wouldn't be able to say return two divs like this, two siblings. It wouldn't work. So we do need to wrap it. So here we're going to reference the props that came in. And so as an example, I'm going to add another prop here called log this, and it's just going to be a string. This is a property, and I'm going to save that. So in the render function, you can access that by typing console log and then this .props .log this, and save that. And I'm going to go to the app here and I'm going to refresh it, and you're going to see two things happening. The first is that home is not defined, and that's because we haven't created the component yet, so we still need to do a bit of work in order for this to work. So in components, let's create a new file. Let's call this header.jsx. And I'm going to open it up by typing header equals React create class. Open that up as usual. And in the render function here, I'm just going to return a bit of bootstrap. So div class, actually I'm just going to wrap that in a div first. So in this render function, you can't just type div class equals, whatever, because class is used in JavaScript. So we actually need to type class name, and then we can give it a class. So I'm just going to call it navbar default, and close that. And I'm just going to div class name equals container, put a bootstrap container in there, and then div class name equals navbar brand. Actually, this should be an A element, and it's just going to say my site name, like that. So if we save that, the header is now created. So I'm now going to create the footer. And the same thing would go for the footer, but I'm not going to put anything in here. I'm just going to have it return a div. So footer equals react.create class. We're going to open that up. We're going to open the render function and return div, like that. So now we need to create the home component. And the reason why is we've referenced home, header, and footer. We've got footer and header created. We still need this component, which we're passing in as home. So we need to create the home component. So I'm going to create a new directory here to keep things organized, and I'm going to call it home. And in that directory, I'm going to create a file called home.jsx. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to name the component home, react.create class. And right now I'm just going to render a return div, actually h1. And it's going to say hello world and hit save. So if I come back here and refresh this page, we're going to start to see it take shape because we've created all the components that we're referencing. And so the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is that let me open this up. So in the, where was it, the main layout, I console log this.props.log this, which I passed into this class as a property. So that's basically what's happening. We're passing in components to the main layout components. So I would reference header, content, and footer in the very same way. Except what we could do is if you want to render the content of a property, you put it in single curly brackets. So it's like Blaze, except you're not using two curly brackets, you're just using one, and you just type it. So let's type this dot props dot header, this dot props dot home, or content rather. We're referencing that here. We're setting it, the property as content, so we're going to reference it like that. And then the footer as well. So this dot props dot footer. We're going to save this, and this is our main layout. So the header, if I, for instance, made a route called Flowrouter dot route / page, then opened up curly brackets here. Let's name it page, and the action is going to be render view. And let's say I had a component named this page. I would do that, and it would render that component into the main layout with the header, that component, and then the footer, and we're also passing this just as a proof of concept. But I'm not going to do that. So now we've got this. But Bootstrap does not appear to be working, and I think maybe I've forgotten to add Bootstrap here. I don't think it got added. Maybe in the last video I know I added it. Maybe I canceled out of it for some reason. So let's go ahead and get that added. So Control C here, Meteor add TWBS : Bootstrap, and hit enter. All right. So now I'm going to run Meteor again. And the page refreshes automatically because it's Meteor. What we're going to do next is get into the the programming of this. So I'm going to close these because I no longer need them. And in server, I'm going to create a new directory called collections. And in here, I'm going to create a new file. And I'm going to call this collection posts. And so posts equals new Mongo collection posts. And then I'm going to write posts.allow insert function return true, update function return true, and remove function return true. And this is going to allow us to insert, update, and remove from that collection. So the posts are going to, let's create a way to put the posts in first. So in the home page, actually I'm going to create a new component here called insert post.jsx. So insert post is going to be the name. It's going to be equal to React.create class. And I'm going to basically render some HTML to put a post in to the database. And so I'm going to form, actually I don't need that. Let's just use a text area. Placeholder is going to be type a post. Name is going to be, actually let's just give it a class name. And we're going to put form control and an ID of post body. There. XML tag has empty body. All right. And then a button. So button class name is going to be button.info, and it's going to say save post. So let's save that, and in the home component, let's render that. So let's just insert post. There. Oh, right, I have to wrap it here. There. All right. Let's indent this so that it doesn't look too bad. And if we refresh this, we're going to see that our new component has been rendered. But if we type stuff, it doesn't do anything right now. So let's have an insert to that collection over here. And how we do that is we're going to create a new function here called insert to collection. It's going to take event. And so once you start getting more functions in React components, you need to separate them with a comma. And what we're going to do is we need to say on click and in curly braces type this and then the function name. So this is going to be insert to collection. And we're not passing anything to it, so you can leave out the brackets here at the end. And the first thing we're going to do is event, prevent default. And then we're going to get the post body. So content, actually I need to var content equals, then we can just use straight up jQuery here to get post body. I'm going to console log content, make sure we're getting it. Oh, didn't mean to copy that. There. So let's save that, come back here, refresh this. There we go. And so we are getting that content into that function. So from this point, it's basically regular Meteor stuff. You're going to type posts, insert, and then content is content. So save that and refresh. And actually, to be able to, I am going to wrap this in a form element just because it's there. So that we can hit enter in the text area and it will also submit it. So on submit, we're going to call this dot insert to collection. So we can actually just change this to type equals submit and remove this part here, and this button will also function as a means to insert into the collection. So if I come back here and refresh, let's make sure that gets into the collection. So this is a post to insert to the collection. I'm going to hit enter. Oh right, it's the text area, never mind. And I'm going to save that, and it logs it out. And if I want to make sure that it inserted successfully, I'm just going to, in the console log here, I'm going to find and let's just do that, fetch. And it did put it into the database with content there as the key. So let's actually extend that a bit further by adding date added. It's going to be new date. And if you want to be able to read it easier, you can do this. That's what I usually do. And it's going to make it easier if you get like huge objects that you're putting into the collection. So I'm going to delete that console log now. We do not need that. So now we've got this working. It's a component to insert posts. But how can we get them out of the database? So over in our home component, I'm going to do a couple things. The first is going to be I'm going to add a property called mixins. Put a colon and then this. I'm going to type Meteor React or React Meteor data. So now we can create a new function, and it's going to connect Meteor data to the component. And the function name is going to be get Meteor data. We open it up. We do this. So right now, I'm going to just get all the posts. And so I'm going to variable posts equals posts find fetch. And then in here, we're going to return certain things to the render function. So I'm going to just type return and then open up curly brackets here. I'm going to return posts as posts. I'm going to save this, and now what we can do is we can access that from the render function by, for instance, let's create a variable here called all posts, and it's equal to this.data.posts. I'm going to console log all posts. I'm going to save that. I'm going to refresh this page. And it's going to log all the posts, which right now this is the only one we have. So that's awesome. How do we get it into here? Well, let's actually go back to insert post here. I'm going to create an input field. Class name is going to be form control. The ID is going to be user. And the placeholder is just going to say user name. Let's end that. Let's put a line break there. I'm also going to put a line break down here. I'm going to also handle this. So var user equals, and then just straight up jQuery from here, the ID of user dot val. I'm going to insert that to the collection as well. So user equals user, and then a comma. So we now have 3 fields that will get entered into the collection. I'm going to remove the current one that we've got because it doesn't have this necessary information in it to render it. So I'm just going to type posts find fetch. I'm going to get that ID. I'm going to say posts remove ID that and enter. Now if I run posts find fetch, it finds nothing because we've just removed it. So let's create a component to render the post. So in the home directory under components, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it post dot, or just single post.jsx. So as usual, post equals React dot create class. Open it up here. And what we're going to do at this point is something a little different, because each post that's rendered needs to be rendered with this single post. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass the post ID as a property to this function. So let's just type render and let post ID equals, and then the post ID. This props post ID. Now, something I like to do, if we're passing multiple properties and they're always passed in as this props and then the name of it, what you can do is you can actually do this. So just wrap your variables in these curly brackets, and let's say I also had a post image and whatnot, and this would say basically each one of these is equal to this dot props dot whatever it is. So it's really useful when you're using multiple ones. And right now I'm just going to console log post ID and then the post ID and return div. Whoa. There. So what we're going to do is we need to map the posts. Actually, let's get to that after. Let's add a couple tasks in here so that we can actually pull them out and see what we're working with. So username Nick. This is my first post. Hit save. And I should set it to automatically reset these to default empty when we save it. This is another post, and then something you'll really enjoy. So now I've got 3 posts, and I want to pull them out down here. So now to render posts, we need to create a couple methods here in the home file. So one of them is going to be called get posts, and we're going to pass it an ID. And the other one is going to be called render posts. So what we're going to do is the get post is just going to return all of the posts. Actually, I don't need to pass it an ID. So get posts, let's just do return posts find fetch. And then from here in render posts, we need to return this get posts. And then we're going to type map, and we're going to call it post here, and put a little fancy arrow to an object. We can end that with a semicolon. And we're going to return the post component with the post being sent as an attribute or a property. So let's end that with a semicolon as well. And what we need to do is in here in the main body, I'm going to put a line break there, and then I'm going to call this render posts. So let me have a quick look over here, make sure it's all good. It looks all good, so let's go back here, and what we need to do is in post, see, there we go. In posts, I'm just returning this. So let's do class name is card, and then in here, let's go with an h3 tag, and here, see this property, that's what I'm expecting to get, and so the post is the only property that I'm setting over here. So I'm going to, in curly brackets here, I'm going to put post user, and then in a paragraph tag, I'm going to put post content. Save. And so to recap, what we're doing is we are mapping the results of this function to basically this, and this is a new way we can actually pass pass each item from these results over as post to this little block here, which returns the component, and we pass the post through with the property name of post. So in the post component, we can reference the entire post as this from this props. So if I go back here and refresh, I've got 3 there, and this is not working. What have I done wrong? So I'm going to pass the ID along as a key property here. So post._ID. And the reason why it wasn't rendering the posts is because I forgot to add the brackets here so that it runs this function. So if I save that, go back here and refresh, I'm going to see this. Now I'm going to, let's say, add a few of these here. And the great thing about React is when something changes, it scans the document, and you'll see over here React IDs, and it performs a diff of the current content versus the new content and only rewrites the portions that need to get rewritten. So it's a lot faster, and that's why it's better to scale using React than Blaze. Second post of mine, which will be a bit longer. So I'm going to style this up a bit, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so this is getting closer to done. We now have a working way to insert posts and also view the posts here. One thing you'll notice is that we've got posts by 2 different people. So how Meteor should handle this in React and Flowrouter, we're going to modify our home component a little bit to be able to use a different route. So I'm going to go into my router file here, Flowrouter, and let's name the route posts by and then user. So the colon here basically means that what follows is going to be the name of a variable, and we can use that variable by accessing params. So what I'm going to do is name the route posts, and the action, we're going to pass params to the action, is going to be render view. I'm going to reuse the home component here, but I'm also going to pass it in with user property, and that's going to be equal to params.user. And so now I'm going to close this component and end that with a semicolon. I actually need to, there, that got a little displaced there. Silly issue. When we create new routes, we need to type flowrouter.route. All right. So what we need to do now is we need to make this a conditional if we're on, basically in the router we're passing a user property here, but we're not here. So we can use this to identify if we're on this route. So what I'm going to do is here in the get posts method, I'm going to say if this.props.user, we're going to return posts find, where the user is equal to this.props.user. I'm going to fetch those. else we're just going to return all the posts. So if I go back here and refresh this, I'm going to see when I view posts by Nick that these are the only results I get. And when I view posts by Pete, these are the only posts I get. And still accessing the home page, I will get all of the posts. And so you can see how you can really reuse components here to be able to serve conditional data. Now, that's basically all Meteor is. It's very simple and straightforward. Using with React and Flowrouter, I really recommend it. It's much faster. It's basically quicker to do everything. It's quicker to develop, it's quicker to browse, and it makes your app faster in general. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I know it's a bit longer than the other ones, and so hopefully the next few videos will be shorter. I think they will. And I'm actually going to provide this code to you guys through GitHub. So right now we're going to be combining a bit of what we've been doing. So I'm going to go to github.com. I'm going to create a new repository here, and I'm going to call it Meteor React Tutorial. And let's initialize it with a README file. And then, all the usual stuff. So from right in the directory here, type git init, git remote, add origin. Oh, I need to paste that URL here. I'm going to close WebStorm so that we can get rid of the .idea directory. Okay, so we can just use the regular rm rf idea there. And then we're going to run git ignore idea / git add a git commit m. The message is going to be example Meteor React stuff, and git push origin master. There we go. If I refresh this, we should see, yeah. So here is the entire Meteor project that we just created. You can find it at github.com/nickgermain/meteor-react-tutorial. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys found it informative. If a bit long, hopefully the next set of videos should be a bit shorter.